Hello and welcome back to Diggs on Twitch. Back today with a pretty interesting list. So this is, let me get this out of the way. So close. There we go. Nice. This is an interesting list. It's based on Mark Strassman's full color list. And it kind of plays pretty nicely. So this is a build that plays around with Brainstorm. Brainstorm, of course, a pretty interesting card. A card that dominates the Legacy format. A card that you don't often see in Maverick these days. Mainly because it usually preys on the Brainstorm decks, so to play Brainstorm itself doesn't seem the greatest. But there is madness to the theory. So what we have here is a 4-color list that utilizes Brainstorm because I usually feel that Maverick is a deck that has to keep the 7 that it opens with and play with that for the rest of the game. So if you open with a Collect Oof against Elves, it's too bad. If you have Swords to Plowshares against Ant or Tez, it's too bad. What Brainstorm allows you to do is pivot your hand based on your matchup. So it gives Maverick the option to keep a 7 with Swords to Plowshares, but then maybe brainstorm it away for something like Gaddock Teeg or Thalia later on. One of the issues that I've been having with Brainstorm, or with Maverick recently, is that I've been drawing silver bullets against decks where they're not silver bullets. They're cards that are okay, but they just don't do anything in the matchup. So instead of having them stuck in your hand or on the field as a vanilla 2/2, you can now brainstorm them away. And the best part of Maverick is that you don't just have fetch lands to shuffle with, you also have Knight, you also have Green Suns, which is really cool. And I think I think Mark liked it in this version of Maverick because you also have Punishing Fire, so you have more ways to interact at instant speed, and I think that only increases the power of Brainstorm, because if you're brainstorming with only Swords to Plowshares in the deck, you don't have too many action points where you can actually brainstorm an end step and then do something as well. So I do think Brainstorm has a place in Maverick. I think it's built a little bit differently, but I really do enjoy the card. It also helps against things like mid to late game Noble Hierarchs and Birds of Paradise aren't that great, and usually are stuck with them. But again, Brainstorm allows you to shuffle them away, which is pretty cool. So this should be a really interesting list to play with. I shuffled the sideboard around a little bit. Mark was playing Thalia in the sideboard, which is a fantastic card, but I do think that because of the amount of non-creature spells you're bringing in against combo in Pyroblast, Elemental Blast, Veil, the Thalia is going to tax you a hell of a lot as well. So I dropped the Thalias, I kept the Meddling Mages, and then we have Containment Priest and Path to go. So that should be pretty cool. Hey Wolf, hey Cap, welcome. Cat Gamer, welcome. Ah, very cool. Yeah, it must feel nice to come out of COVID and play some paper Magic where you're from, because obviously not everyone is getting their fix. Yeah, this should be pretty fun. So we are playing full color. It is a green-white base deck with a blue and red splash. There's not too much else to talk about. The one card I am playing is Corso Crewfix because it's obviously pretty powerful with Brainstorm. And the 2/4 body isn't too bad right now, so we'll see how this list goes. I am also playing just 3 Knights because of the increased amount of 3-drops in the deck. I don't think Knight's at its best right now, especially with all the basic decks around. And things like Rug Delver just have more outs to it, with Dreadhorde Arcanist making it a 6/6. Dreadhorde Arcanist dealing with it if it's up to a 6/6 because of Bolt, Flashback Bolt. And then also Oko. So this should be pretty cool. Hope you guys are well. Let's go to a league. We are playing Punishing 4-color in a Legacy League. Play points. Nice. 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 Very cool. Alright. Straight in, which is pretty sweet. It's going to be interesting to see how this deck plays against Snow, because it looks like it's going to grind pretty well. And this hand is okay. Hey Mike, welcome. So we have a pretty good plan. So we have some removal and Swords to Plowshares, interaction in Wasteland. Hey Mike, thanks for the follow. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what do you play in Legacy? Course is pretty sweet, especially with Library. And Library is going to be able to allow us to dig for hopefully some more relevant spells against what we're playing against. Unless it's going to be Reanimator, which isn't the worst because we do have the Caracas. Hey Martin, welcome. So this is an interesting one. Our opponent's on 4 cards. So they could have something like Reanimate, which is just 1 red, 1 black. The big question is it worth... did they show the Chancellor? That's interesting. So they've drawn the Chancellor off the looting. Okay, so turn 1 plays here. We have Noble Hierarch, we have Wasteland. We also have the option of holding up Swords to Plowshares. I do like keeping the Caracas in hand. But it's a case of Noble Hierarch or Wasteland here. If my opponent is on... like Animate Dead or Exhume, then it's probably better to take the Badlands out here. But there is play as well to playing the Noble Hierarch to get ahead on mana on the early turns. My opponent's also down to 4 cards. I think it is just Wasteland on the off chance that my opponent is relying on a 2 mana Reanimate spell. I think this is fine. Opponent had 4 cards, so they need a land and a Reanimate spell. And it looks like that that land is what they kind of relied on there, so pretty happy to get a kind of free win there. Now it's going to be Trop into Noble Hierarch. I don't want to use the fetch land until I see with the Sylvan Library. And I don't want to show the Caracas off yet, so pretty happy to see how this goes. Yeah, really interesting, especially seeing they're on 4 cards. I believe Reanimator usually plays only a few lands, maybe, I think around 15, and then it plays 4 petals. So, pretty nice to snipe that win there. Unfortunately, we aren't playing Leyline, but we have some pretty good spells. I do like Bog, I do like Containment Priest, I don't mind the extra Path to Exiles. Especially in this deck, it's a little bit better with Brainstorm because you can dig for things like swords, but there are games where you just don't find your Swords to Plowshares and you get beaten down by a Chancellor. I think Punishing Fire is a pretty easy drop here. And then we're looking at things like Corso Crucifix, Reminap, Gaddock Teeg, cards that are fine against certain decks, but not great here. I could keep the Collector Oof around if I really wanted to, but I think I'd rather have it on the play because the only card it hits is Lotus Petal, and Lotus Petal is going to be a card that they play and probably use straight away. So I don't think I'll have the chance to even play a turn 2 Oof and actually hit a Lotus Petal. I'm going to say that chance is gone then. Yeah, Veil's definitely interesting. Maybe it's worth it on the draw. It does stop Unmask. It also stops Abrupt Decay, and maybe that's one of their outs for Containment Priest. I think that's good. It's probably a case between Meddling Mage and Veil here. Meddling Mage is interesting as well because you can't always predict what they have. If you name Reanimate, then they might have Exhume or something else. That's 63. Okay, so we have a good minute. We like the swords, we like the brainstorms, I like the mana acceleration. I can probably drop down on a Sylvan Library, let's be fair. Probably even 2 is overcompensating. I might just go down to the 1. Colossus is fine because it hits the graveyard. Oko's fine, Knight's fine, Knight of Autumn is fine because it can still hit things like Animate Dead. Green Suns is fine. Maybe it's just 2 Veil. I think it's a little bit better on the play because you get that open mana. But I might see how this goes. I don't think any of these add any more value than the cards in the main deck do. And if we have a a game 3, then we can come back to the sideboard and see what happens. Yeah, Mage is really awkward. But I think the addition of Mage is just because it's a better hate bear than Gaddock Teeg in this matchup, and it's a better hate bear than Collector Oof in this matchup. This is a pretty unfortunate hand. The Karakas is fine to have in the opening. It's quite nice because the only other way to get it is to search for it with Knight of the Reliquary. But otherwise, it's a whole lot of mana, and it doesn't really have a plan. And if they do go for something early on, like a Grave Titan or a Chancellor, the Karakas is mute. So I'm gonna mulligan this. I think a lot of our hate is pretty relevant, so I'm pretty happy to mulligan pretty aggressively. Again, a pretty nice hand because we have a turn 1 play Noble Hierarch and a turn 2 in either Night Clots or Green Suns. My opponent's going down to 6. And I think we can mulligan once more. I do really want to find some piece of interaction like a Swords to Plowshares. That's nice and early, so I'm going to mulligan once more. And this is pretty nice. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to bottom the Meddling Mage because it is a little bit rough on the draw. Or at least with this hand. I think it's probably one of the weaker cards that I want to keep. And I think it's probably the Noble Hierarch. But it's interesting because if my opponent goes turn 1 Faithless Looting Pass, then that's a great start for me to go Noble Hierarch Pass and then hold up Oko for the following turn. So I might actually drop a land here and just keep the Noble Hierarch. Because my chances of drawing an extra land is a lot higher than drawing a turn 1 mana acceleration. Yeah, I'm going to drop a land. There's Petal. Looting. Noble could get annexed. Yeah, that's fair enough. I guess at least if the Noble's getting hit, then the others aren't. Ritual into Animated? Reanimate, okay. That's not too bad, because my opponent can only draw once off this. And we do have both Swords and Path, which is kind of nice. Unmask themselves. Ah, put Child into play, get back Child. Nice. Gain some life. Okay, that's pretty cool. That means my opponent's on the Tendrils list, which I'm not sure if that's actually just what I should be assuming these days, because a lot of these Reanimator decks are playing Tendrils. What did we show off in the game 1? We showed Noble Hierarch. We showed Wasteland. We didn't show Oko. So I believe for now they think that we're on a green-white deck. Oh, we played the Trop. Okay. I'm happy to play this out. I could concede that or conceal information, but I think it's fine. Storm count already at 9 as well, so I could see a Tendrils here, unfortunately. It looks like my opponent has maybe Tendrils in hand, and they're just buying, yeah, some to try to find some ritual effects. Tendrils are very, very cool effects. The Tendrils build, sorry. Take the path. Tendrils. Interesting. So I guess maybe the Teeg isn't the worst. Teeg Teeg's interesting at least. I guess the Veil kind of does it anyway. Yeah, it is pretty interesting. It's a nice pivot for the deck, especially with Child. Once you have Child and Grizzlebrand locked on, it's so much easier to pull off a turbo win on your turn. I guess it also means in the face of Oko that you can just win on your turn. You play Grizzlebrand, you don't have to let your opponent untap and then come back to you and then start attacking and gaining some life to draw some cards off or reanimate, when you can just get back the life with Child, which is very cool. I think I will bring in the extra Veil on the play. What do I want to drop down on? I'm going to drop down on a Grove. I can definitely drop down on some number of lands. That leaves me with 22, or at least 21, and then Bog and Dried Arbor, which don't work on the same turn. I'm gonna play Teeg. I don't think it's necessary to win the game, but it does lock my opponent out of some spells like Unmask and Tendrils. It only turns us off Green Suns, which isn't too bad. It usually doesn't come up. Usually. Oko's pretty good, but I think I can go down to 2 here. I think every other card is just a little bit better. And Oko doesn't do much when they're winning on their turn. Or at least trying to win on their turn. I think this is fine. Just don't turn 1. Let's submit this. Oof's also interesting. But I'm happy with this. Top to play first. Nice hand, but the double Wasteland's pretty rough, so I'm gonna mulligan this. This is a really nice hand, but it just has to wait a turn. I think I'm keeping this and bottoming the Clots. Hey Mike, welcome. Very well, thank you. In game 3 against Reanimator, we're gonna keep this, and I'm gonna bottom Clots. And then we're just gonna get a tropical island off the Noble Hierarch, because then we have access to all our colors. My opponent's mulliganed to 4 cards, which is interesting. And I guess that's all they need, because they could have land, Dark Ritual, Entomb, and then Reanimate spell, so we'll see how this goes. Trop, Noble. I'm not going to 6 because they might think we have something like Ferromacabre or Surgical. I really hope this is a Faithless Looting and pass. Nice. So that's pretty awesome, because now we get to play Bog and then just hold up Containment Priest. Pretty rough for my opponent going down to 4. There definitely are 4s that win the match, but didn't get it there. Reanimate usually a pretty interesting kind of on the play matchup, where if you're on the play you win, if they're on the play they win, if you're on the play you win, so yeah. Maverick does have the tools to beat it, which is nice, but these new Tendril lists are a little bit more interesting because a lot of our answers are sorcery speed, so yeah, great start to the league. Always nice to beat out a Reanimator. Yeah, definitely. I have seen a DQ due to dice roll, which is pretty funny, but obviously, yeah, I feel with Maverick, especially as a fair deck in Legacy, the more times you're on the play, the better. It just changes matchups so much. And speaking of, we are on the play, which is really nice. Unfortunately, no lands, so we will have to mulligan this, but that is fine. This is an interesting one because Teeg and Collect Oof in their own right are great silver bullets, but I don't know what I'm up against, so I'm not sure if I should be keeping Gaddock Teeg or Collect Oof or Punishing Fire. I'm going to say Punishing Fire is actually a silver bullet because against something like Storm, I might want to keep these two and actually bottom the Punishing Fire. But I think the play here is to bottom the Collect Oof. I do like the Yoko as like a late game threat or mid to late game threat. Punishing Fire's removal is really nice. I like the 3 lands. Gaddock Teeg can just steal games. Collect Oof can as well, but I think Gaddock Teeg just steals a little bit more right now. And seeing that we have Oko, I'm not too scared of some of the big mana decks. So I'm going to keep this in bottom, Collect Oof. Now it's actually an interesting one because I could go Savannah Pass, which opens me up to Wasteland. But I don't really want to lose the Grove either, so I'm just going to go Savannah Pass, and then next turn play Teeg. Yeah, at least P-Fire has reach as well, which is nice. So it doesn't just hit creatures, it could hit Planeswalkers or the player themselves. Opponent having a think about what's happening here. Mountain! Okay, we're up against Burn. Nice. So I wonder here if I want to... So Teeg in this matchup doesn't do a whole lot. It does stop Fire Blast, which isn't something we have to really worry about till late game. I don't mind Grove and just Punishing Fire right now, just to keep it off the table, because if we allow them to untap, they could have a Bolt, which puts it above Punishing Fire range. Probably more than happy with that. Every life matters. Not even snow-covered basics. Eidolon. Okay. Knight, interesting. Price of Progress is just so good here as well. I don't really want to play the Knight when... Okay, so here's a play. I play Wasteland, I tap out for Ramanap, and then if it comes to my turn, I can float mana with these two. If I don't draw a land, Wasteland myself, and then use the Wasteland. I can hold up the Wasteland to keep the Knight above 4/4. I think that's good enough. I could also return Punishing Fire. I think this is fine. I think playing Ramanap is better than getting back the Punishing Fire. This Ramanap also has to be dealt with if they do want to start attacking with the Eidolon, so I don't mind it being kind of Bolt or Chain Lightning fodder. Damo, welcome. Hope you're well. Currently upper game. Oh, sorry, upper match, but playing game 1 against Burn. There's the chain. Coming against Remap, okay. This is where like Price of Progress would be pretty brutal. If they're playing it, I have seen some lists move away from it. Oh, interesting. What about now? Hopefully that's better. Nice. Come on, Oko. Nice. Alright, so now we can do some cool things, because we can hold up Wasteland to save ourselves from a... from a Price of Progress. So we can pretty much save 4 life. I think just Oko into food and just hope they don't have lethal next turn. It's kind of the play. Oh, they have the Rift Bolt? Yeah, okay. Rift Bolt puts me to 6. Eidolon puts me to 4. It's gonna be tight. Spike me. Bolt me. Yeah. They just have it. Burn's gonna be an interesting one. We do have some tools. I don't mind mages. I think mages are better than Collector Oof and Gaddock Teeg, but there's really not much else to bring in. I think we actually have a pretty decent matchup against Burn. A lot of the time we're using Swords of Plowshares on our own creatures. So if we can get to a relatively big knight and then just swords our own knight, that's usually good enough. I think this is really it. Bajuka Bog does nothing. I mean, if they have Grim Lovemancer or something, they have Grim Lovemancer. Collector Oof is irrelevant. Containment Priest is pretty irrelevant. The flash effect can be nice, but I think that's overcompensating, especially because it turns off Green Suns. Teeg stops Fire Blast, but I think it hitting Green Suns is probably a bigger concern for us. And then the Blast effects do nothing and Veil does nothing, so... I don't think I want to deal with any of the creatures with a path either, especially when we already have Punishing Fire, which deals with Goblin Guide, Eidolon, and Young Biomancer. Sorry, Monosusu Spear. So let's just run this back. Please don't lose to Burn. Please don't lose to Burn. Alright. Yeah, Cloth is also really nice. So this is a pretty interesting hand. I'm gonna keep it. And I think it's just gonna be Savannah into Dried Arbor. And if they don't deal with it, then we can play Corsair. Sylvan Library, definitely not the greatest card, but it does still have some value because we can use it to scry. Alright, I'm gonna go for a Trop and then play Sylvan Library. Ah, this is interesting actually. Do I want to go for another land? Is Punishing Fire better? Maybe it is. I probably want a Taiga then, because I want to have as many green sources as possible. It also means I don't have to draw a green source next turn to play the Corsair Prefix, and it means in the long game with Scavenging Ooze I have more green sources. So I think I might get Taiga over Plateau. Play Library and pass. I think if I had a third land here, I'd be a little more inclined to not play the Sylvan Library and just hold up. This is actually pretty nice. Put on top... Put on top. I definitely don't want to pay here. And then just Wasteland, The knight's just going to gain life. I think this is actually an interesting one. Is knight gaining life better than Corsair? Because if they do drop something like Sulfuric Vortex or Pyrostatic Pillar, then I kind of want to keep the knight for that. So maybe Corsair is fine here. Probably pretty happy to keep the Corsair around. See if they attack. They do attack, interesting. So the question is, am I happy to trade the Goblin Guide for the Corsair? Because this makes me believe that my opponent has a burn spell. And let's think about this. The Corsair, if I block here, they have to spend another probably 3 damage to kill it, which ends up saving me 5 damage. So if I don't block here, I'm telling myself that I'm going to gain 5 life off this Corsair, which I don't think I am going to be doing. So I think here it's just correct to block and save myself 2 damage and then most likely another 3 here. Because I might be getting 1 life off the Corsair, but probably nothing else. Yeah, it looks like they're down to just the 1 land as well. Which is pretty great for us. Forest is pretty perfect. I'm going to put this on top. I don't mind paying for this and just getting clots, which can start gaining us some life. I could also get Scavenging Ooze, which I probably wouldn't mind because it allows us to, I guess it doesn't allow us to play around Price of Progress anyway. Maybe the better play is just Knight. Maybe I actually just need to start beating down and winning before my opponent actually gets mana online. And Clots doesn't really achieve that. It does 2 damage, but if my opponent drops like a Sulfuric Vortex over the next 2 turns, then it doesn't do a whole lot. Or like a Tormod's Crypt. Knight also can help me against Price of Progress because I can sack my jewels, which I think is better. I think Knight gives me a way to win the game, but also a way not to lose the game. It's also a 4/4, so it's out of bolt range. Yeah. Yeah, I'm always happy. I'm happy for Knight. I think I'm also happy for Knight here as well because we have the Knight of Autumn for life gain. All right. We also have the play of just swords our own knight, which is kind of nice. And there's clots. Okay. Put on top. Now this is interesting. We're at 7, so we do die to Fire Blast and 1 more Bolt effect. The Knight puts us up. The play here is Knight. Go to 11. And then technically our opponent can kill us by just land, Bolt, 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 Fire Blast. Fire Blast, Bolt, Bolt doesn't do it. But I think this is okay. I don't want to attack because I want to hold up Swords to Plowshares. As a just in case. They've already been through 2 chains and 2 lava spikes, but they haven't been through any bolts. Yeah, I'd rather play it safe here. I'm just gonna pass. Interesting. I'm just gonna get a plateau. Put on top, put on top. Play noble. Pretty happy to attack with the knight here. What are they gonna do? Searing Blood, interesting. Deals 3. So I can Punishing Fire my own Noble Hierarch here. Because if the creature dies before the Searing Blood resolves, I don't take 3. And I think I'm actually okay with that. And now I'm happy to attack for 7. Because now we still have Swords to Plowshares open for our own knight if everything goes wrong. But we also have Wasteland open, so not too unhappy there. Riftbolt exiled, okay. Now we're getting pretty close to just having lethal, especially if we find another Wasteland. Another knight. 4. We can put them down to 1. Interesting. I think the play is just knight again. Put on top, put on top. I still want to keep the sword up, so I think the play is like this. And then attack. Riftbolt comes off suspend. We're at 11, so we're getting down to 8. That's fine. Scary, but it's okay. They don't have it. Okay. So even if they did, some things you can do here is Wasteland a Jewel to save 4 life off a Price of Progress. Once we Wasteland ourselves, the Knights become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 7s. So we can Swords ourselves, go to 15, and then still have lethal and then swing back thanks to the other Knight. So luckily we were okay there. Obviously our opponent got screwed a little bit there on the lands, but Burn's definitely a deck where you can just keep on landers and, you know, hope to find the second early on. Seeing Searing Blood's interesting, but I don't think it changes anything. I still don't think anything in this deck is better than what we had. There's some thought to Path, because you could even path your own creatures in response to Searing Blood, which also gains you a card, but I don't think that's worth it. I think it's just overthinking. I think we just run back with this and hope that it's okay. We do get a little bit punished with this deck because we are playing only the 1 forest, not the usual 1 and 1 with the plains, or 2 forest, 1 plains. Haha. So the questions against Burn you have to ask yourself is your hand good against the creature starts, or is your hand good against the spell-based starts? And I don't think this hand lines up against either. It doesn't have removal for creatures. The mana is fine, but you know, what's the role of this Green Suns? What are we Green Sunning for? I'm not really going to Green Suns for a Knight with this hand because it's going to be a 2/2 when it comes down, most likely. Sylvan Library isn't great because we can't use it to our full effectiveness. I think this hand is a mulligan because it doesn't really have a plan against burn. It's kind of, maybe your nobles get taken out, you get to Green Suns for Ooze, and then you get to untap with Ooze and eat them. I don't think that's happening, so I think this is just a pretty easy mulligan. Hey, this is great. I'll keep this. I'll keep this in bottom of the library. Why do I like this hand? It has 2 removal spells and swords, one for them and maybe even one for us if we need it. And then it has 2 fetch lands, which means that we can make this Knight a 4/4 by the time it comes down. So Sylvan Library is pretty easily the worst card in this hand, and I'm pretty happy to keep what we have here. Swiftspear is fine. One thing to note is, how does your hand line up against Eidolon? Because perhaps you don't want to run this sword out straight away. You might want to save it for Eidolon at the end of their turn, so you can untap and play something. But I think because we drew the Punishing Fire, I'm probably happy taking this Monastery Swiftspear if they like Lava Spike us first or something. Bolt us first, okay. Well, that means they're not playing an Eidolon this turn, and so they don't gain the extra life, I'm just going to fetch here. There's probably some thought actually to not fetching because this kind of shows that we have removal. What I should have done is not fetched because it might incentivize them to play another bolt-like spell instead of something like a Goblin Guard or Monastery Swiftspear. But can't really change that now, so let's just get a plateau, allow this bolt to resolve, and see what happens. I can at least go to combat, so I kind of get... Yeah, they put a Rift Bottle in suspend, that's fine. Swords this. Now this Wooded Foothills is pretty nice because I got a plateau here, so I have both red and white mana, so now I can get my basic of this. The question is, do I want to play the High Rock out? That's pretty interesting. If I play the High Rock out, next turn I can play the Wasteland and play the Knight, but hold up Wasteland for Price of Progress. If I play the Noble here, I can't play the Punishing Fire in their turn. Which I think is okay, because if they're playing a creature, they're probably not dealing with the Hierarch. Forest, Noble. I hope it goes at the Noble, that would be a huge win. But I'm already at 14, so yeah, I think I unfortunately am going down. Searing Blood. Huh. Okay. So the question here is, do I take 3? Or do I Swords my own Noble? Because I can untap and play a 4/4 Knight, which is pretty good. So if I take 3 here, I go down to 8. I then untap, play the Knight, I'm tapped out, and I'm at 8 and I have 3 lands with 3 cards in hand. I think I have to just Swords here, even though I don't gain life. I kind of do. It's kind of like a, is it Healing Slave, the 1 white gain 3? Because at least I'm essentially saying I don't want to take the 3 there. I don't think I can. I think I have to just Swords my own creature to stay afloat. Savannah. Okay. I'm gonna play Savannah. And then play Knight. I don't want to play the Wasteland. If I play the Wasteland, they might... Yeah. It's interesting. It's all about price. So Wasteland only gives them the information that I do have a Wasteland and I can get out of... It means I don't have to take 4 if I don't untap. I think I'm definitely playing the Knight here because of things like Sulfuric Vortex. I have to get in front of my opponent. But the reason not to play the Wasteland is that if I'm tapping out with it, I don't want to give my opponent the information that I have it already. they might just think I only have access to one because of night. So they might try something a little bit special. It's tough. One thing to note with Wasteland is that it can target itself. So if you're on 2 and your opponent says Price of Progress you can target Wasteland by itself because you... Oh, that is passing? Oh, that is massive. That is huge. What does that mean? How good's Library here? Library allows me to dig for 3. I think I play Library, hold up Punishing Fire. I'm definitely attacking. My thought was if I wanted to Wasteland myself here to get an extra 2 damage in, but I think I can hit for 4, put him to 18, and then I have a 3-turn clock with a 6/6 Knight next turn. Yeah, if I waste now, it's a lot better for us. Wow. Okay. Untap. Nice. Oh, that's pretty much perfect. Huh. Can't cast a Meddling Mage, but that's fine. So now I'm happy just to attack for 4. If they do nothing, I don't need these 2 lands, so I'm happy to actually wasteland myself here and just put them on a 3-turn clock. And then we have Punishing Fire to get rid of any sort of... Oh, they could actually price me here. Go to 5. Okay. Do they have another price? No. Okay. I guess I could have played around that, but if I'm making the move to put them on a 2-turn clock, I have to do that. So they're gonna fetch. Will they just... Okay. Interesting. Put on top. Put on top. I don't think I want to play the Caracas because of Price of Progress. So I'm happy just to say, hey, do you have 7 damage in you? Hold the baby. Alright, they got 1 turn. They have 3 cards. Surely they have 7 damage in 3 cards. Chain me. Okay. Yeah, we can always Swords the Knight, which is nice. They have 2 cards left. Fire Blast me. Okay, so now I have to Swords in response. They have 1 card left. Is it another Fire Blast? That'd be sweet. Okay, we got a 10, we got a 6. Sweaty. Oh, okay. Put on top. Put on top. Hey, thanks, Mike. All the best. Firecraft. Rough. It's pretty good. Fire you. Savannah does nothing. Fade, please fade. Oh no, no! Oh, I thought they played that really well. Classic. Tight. Don't sell the foils. Hey, Force. Rough. The blue there really hurt. Interesting games. All good. I'm gonna get some water. I'll be back in 1 second. I think what I could have done there was the turn I had the knight and I wasted myself. I could have done that before I attacked, so the knight was untapped. So that if I wanted to, I could actually use knight to wasteland myself again in response to price to only take 2. But we learn. We learn. Hey, Force Williams, what are you currently building in Legacy? Or at least trying to finish, if anything. Oh no, my screen. I just lost my screen. Yep, I lost my screen. There we go. We're good. We're good. But yeah, Burn, that was actually a really fun matchup. You know, been playing a lot of 7-point Highlander. Nice. 7 PH is 7-point Highlander. Haha, it did get a mention. Which is a singleton format. It's Australia based. Imagine a singleton format where you have a 60-card main deck, a 15-card sideboard, and instead of a banned and restricted list, you have a point system. So powerful spells are pointed. So things like Moxen are 3 points. Things like Oko, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Umezawa's Jide are 1 point. You can have up to 7 points in your deck. So you can have like True Name Nemesis at 2 points. True Name, Jace, Snap, Oko, Force of Will, and Jide as your 7. Or you could have Moxen and Lotus. I think that works. I think Lotus is 4 and Moxen are 3. It's really fun. You can find a lot of deck lists at 7-point Highlander. I actually did some work with Pleasant Kenobi and did some Highlander content. Yeah, really cool format. Brisbane has a really good scene. We had 20 last night at our F&M, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, if you want to find some content, boom. Haha! Hey Tega, thank you very much. That's very cool. Yeah, they were really interesting games. I was saying my only thought that I could change is that when I attacked and then wastelanded myself and you priced me, I could have done that in my main phase, which meant that the knight would have been untapped. And that's probably the better play, because then if I really want to, I can still use my knight to wasteland me a second time in response to the price, which kind of saves me 2 life. Haha, hey Rick, welcome. Up against Zam, okay. Hey Rick, what do you play in 7-point if you do play 7-point? Yeah, that's fair enough. I guess because you're at 18, I wanted to make myself a 3-3. Sorry, a 3-turn. I wanted to make the knight a 6-6 because then it's a 3-turn clock. But obviously, as much as I talked about price that game, I did forget it there. I'm pretty happy to keep this. Even on the draw, it's a turn 2 Oko, which is really nice. Green Suns is really nice. Swords to Plowshares is great. Delver, okay. This is probably going to just be Rug. So there's some consideration for just Forest into... This is an interesting one. I think it is just fetch Forest. I want to try to play around Wasteland as much as possible. I can't play around Days, but I'm going to keep the swords for now. I don't want the I don't want the swords to get Days. I want the noble to get Days, but it didn't happen there, which is nice. What did I play? I played Bug Control. I went 3-1 going down to Matt on lands with Primetime and a few other creatures, which are pretty hard to deal with. Bolt's okay. What if this is a Ponder to try to flip the... Oh, it's gonna be Grixis. Interesting. But yeah, there was 3 bug decks. That was the most popular. I think mine was the only different one because I played Green Suns, and most decks play, I'm gonna say, Dig Through Time. That's pretty interesting. So I want the Tundra's probably my best land right now because it taps for Oko and Swords. I'm actually probably okay with playing the Tega and just playing the Collector Oof out. Doesn't do a whole lot. And let's quickly look at this Ponder, because I'm assuming they chose not to shuffle. Okay, so the Delver's definitely flipping. Yeah. The other play is Green Suns for a mana accelerant. Which, to be fair, is probably fine as well. I'm gonna get Bird because if I need it, it can be a blocker for a Flip Delver. It also taps for all colors, which is relevant because Noble doesn't tap for red. Brainstorm's a good card. There's Wasteland, okay. Another Bolt. I think here I kind of have to deal with it, so I'm going to go Swords, play around Days, and then I'm just going to keep building my mana, so I'm going to Green Suns of a Dryad Arbor. This allows me next turn to play around Days and also Oko something like a Dreadnought, if that happens, because that would be pretty sweet. Delver's always a lot tougher on the draw as well. Oh, no follow-up land. Okay. Okay. I think here it is just Oko because the Dreadhorde is just an issue. They have 3 cards left. Yeah. They haven't countered anything yet, so I assume they counter this. Yeah. Okay. This is where Dreadhorde's just absurd because I just don't have enough answers in the deck to deal with all their threats. And the free spells are just so good as well. Definitely no blocks. It's a 3-drop. Ashiok main deck. Wow. Did not see that coming. I'm gonna brainstorm first. Huh. Put this on top. I can't search because of the Ashiok. Put this on top. Play Savannah. Play Knight. Ashiok actually really good here because it turns the Bolt on against the Knight, which was kind of my plan otherwise. I guess if I knew about the Ashiok, I probably would have played the Knight into the Force and then held the Oko. That's rough. The double Arcanist is just so good, and the main deck Ashiok is brutal. Really interrupting my plans. So this is an interesting matchup. Teeg, Oof. Corsa. Yeah, interesting choices for sure. I definitely like Path, and I do like the Blasts. I'm just not sure how many I want. Veil's also interesting because it stops counter magic. I could play a Low to the Ground kind of deck. Knight of Warden can come out. I'm going to drop the Ramanap. I'm going to drop a Sylvan as well. Maybe one more. I don't want to get too reactive, but I also don't want to lose this game. Yeah, Knight of Autumn's an interesting one. They don't usually play anything like Sylvan Library, so I think this is fine. Bog's always interesting, especially seeing their Grixis, but I think something like this is okay. Yeah, the enchantment's pretty interesting, especially for 1 red, you can stop opponents from getting life this turn. I think it's a case of something like burn if they need it over like, is it better than pyrostatic pillar against the decks where you want something like that. 61. I'm gonna drop an Oko. I don't think Oko was that good against them. It keeps them with the threat, which is always tough. I could also see myself going down on a Punishing Fire. Can't wait to have Fire Blast stuck in hand. So this is an interesting one because I really want to keep my swords for their Dreadnoughts or Dreadhordes and bigger creatures, and then try to have the blast effects or punishing fires for their Delvers. Yeah, Ramanap's interesting. Maybe Ramanap is okay, and it might just be something like a Green Sun, a Sylvan Library, because we really can't be aggressive with these. As nice as it is, I'm okay with this. Interesting hand. It really relies on this Sylvan Library. Because I definitely want a Green Sun straight away for Dried Arbor so that turn 2 I can play around Days by playing Sylvan Library. But it doesn't really have anything else going for it. It doesn't do anything against like a Delver Dreadhorde start. Alright, I'll keep this. I think it's just a plateau here. Sylvan on turn 2 is nice, but it's just a case of making sure you also have an answer for what they're most likely starting off with, which is a threat, which is bloody tough. Bolt's okay. Grove. I'm going to brainstorm here because I do want to find some answer to it other than just Oko. And that's pretty nice. We have both Sword and Veil, so I'm going to put this on top. Then probably just the Grove and draw the Grove. Just get a Savannah. Swords this. Wasteland would be really good there for my opponent. Still pretty good. This is actually pretty interesting because I can are they targeting us? I can just cycle this Veil. Which I think is worth it. Don't do it. The issue is if I don't draw a land next turn, I kind of have to play one of my spells just into Daze. So see what happens here. Okay. Ashiok's brutal. It stops all our fetches, it stops Knight, it stops Green Suns. Pyromancer's really strong. And Gurmag, yeah. Now the question is, do I cycle the Veil? Probably need to. I'd love to find a blast effect for the Ashiok. Another Oko. Another Knight. I can exchange the food for the young Pyromancer. So my options are make the food a 3/3, which I think the extra Oko will do. So maybe I go exchange this for this. And now I'm just going to play the Knight. I can't swap for the Gangler, unfortunately, because it's exchange for a creature with power 3 or less. So I guess if I wanted to, I could... Yeah, I can't even Elk it and then take it. See what they attack. They're gonna attack the Oko. I think that's okay, because then I can swing back into the Ashiok. Yeah, they can have this. Land exile. And just a pass. Taiga. Play another Knight. There is a case to play the Oko here, because next turn the Knight can actually... The Knight on the table can make the Knight big enough that's coming down to be above bolt range. Another one. They're keeping it at 5. Interesting. 2 cards left. Force is fine. I think here I just use the Knights in end step so that I can play around the Ashiok tick down. I do have the option here to take them off double black, but I think I'd rather hold up the Knights for end step so that I can attack with large enough Knights into the Ashiok. Ah, we can't search. Ah, that's interesting, but I can still sack things. Is that worth it? I think it is, because it makes the Knights big enough. But then they can just exile the graveyard, of course, and state-based actions kill it. Yep. Yep, that was a pretty ludicrous play. The library's pretty nice. Yep. Yep. That is a case of making a play and talking through it as you make it instead of talking through it before you make it. That's gonna be fine. What do I want to do here? I think it's just pay once. I could go down to 11. I think it's worth it. I'm going to play Savannah because it's probably the card that I don't mind getting wastelanded. But yeah, Ashiok here, just a massive stifle is just sitting on the field. Dreadhoard's pretty good. Rough. I mean, I can brainstorm so we can pay for, put this on top. Play Tundra. Dig for a removal spell. I get a 1/1 as well. Okay. Brainstorm's pretty good. Yeah, that's GG's. Especially naming human, it just wipes the board. Rough. Ashiok was not a card that I thought about, especially in game one. That was pretty brutal. But you know, that's Magic, and very cool for them for trying to innovate a new build. But yeah, obviously just shuts down Maverick so well because it shuts down your Night plan, your Green Suns plan, your mana, and especially that play with the Knights. Definitely read your opponent's cards first, and then make decisions. Because that was yeah, that wasn't a great feel good. But also just not funny. I guess they might have exiled a bit of removal with the Ashiok, but I still would have thought that could have hit a Swords or a Path. Yeah, there are a few walkers that need a good look at in Magic at the moment. It's so interesting as well to see, like, when Khan the Great Creator and Narset were released, everyone was raving about them, but now you hardly even see them. This hand would be nice, but it's just a little bit rough on mana. We don't have a green yet for Green Sun, so I'm not going to keep this. And I'm not going to keep this because it's yeah, I just need the green mana. Need more than one land? Okay. We can keep this and keep the bird for a turn 2 Oko. So I think it's the... So Green Suns for Dried Up, it kind of accomplishes the same thing as Birds, but it puts us up against Wasteland. And Birds is only for removal. So I think I'll put back the Green Suns and a Wooded Foothills. Unless I want to get Taiga with the first Wooded Foothills, so maybe we'll put back the Wasteland. Wasteland Green Suns. And then go Taiga Bird. And then drop Oko. CloudPost. Always keep the Wasteland. At least we get down Oko, which is nice. So let's go for Trop. Oko. Critter Food. Alright. Needle. Rough. And a map, so they can only have 4 mana. Definitely looking too fair for my side. Would have been interesting if I kept the Wasteland, but I felt like I needed the mana. Forest, interesting. CloudPost. Retrofitted Foundry, interesting. Sylvan Library's pretty good. Yeah, Retrofitted really caught me off guard. I'm just gonna Punishing Fire this. I don't really want them to block anyway. And they can't sack it, which is nice. Two, 4, 5. CloudPost. 6, 7. 7 mana? Okay. Now I really need Wasteland. A little bit too slow. Put on top, but I'll pay for the night. They can also sack it to make a 4/4, which is interesting. Probably shouldn't have attacked. Ah, okay, that's fine. Ah, of course, because it takes no mana. Just a little too fair. Our opponent has 10 mana next turn, which is enough for Ugin, All Is Dust, Ulamog. So I definitely don't see anything big happening past this turn, unfortunately. Ancient Stirring's pretty good. There's Ugin. Rough. It's usually pretty good game 1. The mulligan to 5 was pretty unlucky, but we do have some sideboard cards that are nice. I don't mind the meddling mages, especially for some of their bigger spells. I don't mind taking out Punishing Fire. I do like Collect Oof, I do like Gaddock Teeg. I don't mind one Punishing Fire in case there also one can't. It gives me some amount of reach. I think it's just this. We don't have too much to bring in. But if we can keep a consistent 7 of like turn 1 Dork into turn 2 Knight, I'd be pretty happy. Sadly, this isn't it. Just another no-lander, which is pretty rough. Yep. Alright. Keep bottom Dried Arbor, bottom Brainstorm. And one more. Probably the Oko. Because at least Knight can beat down. I got my wish, but it's not the hand that I was wanting to keep. Yeah, the Mull's rough, but I can't do anything about it, so I can at least try to regroup and play out a game that does something, because a May the Vistart is kind of exactly what I need. Yeah, the needles are really good. Probably this Naming Knight, not even worrying about Wasteland. That's probably the better play, because the Knight just can't get large by itself. So if they name Wasteland here, then we do have a pretty good shot. Okay. Can at least fetch to make this bigger, but they have the maze. I was gonna get a plateau because then I have all my colors online. But yeah, the turn 1, the needles in this matchup have been pretty brutal, because answering the Oko is just so good, and then also answering Knight's really nice, and then having the maze as well. Okay. Can I get a Green Suns? Ooh, okay. Put on top, put on top. And then I don't... Yeah, that's fine. We can just go with Silver Library here. I guess we could have kept the blue source for Oko. I just thought we had another blue land, but we don't. Oh, Knight of Autumn's pretty perfect. Put on top, I'll pay for this. Play this. Play Knight. Deal with Needle. And then I'm going to Wasteland in their upkeep, because if they have crop rotation, I want them to use it in their turn, not mine. We'll see if they use their... They're going to use this now, so now that they're tapped out, I can just use Knight, which I'm pretty happy to do. Stirrings. So luckily the Knight gave us a nice answer to the Needle, because as good as Oko is on the Needle, I kind of want to do something else. Retrofit a Foundry, okay. Retro's okay. So we know about Caracas on top. Oh, I got changed over, okay. That's fine. Sword. 2, 3, 4. I kind of just want to get the Oko online. Night Autumn is solid. I don't think I need the sword. Put on top. Put on top. I guess I can also use the Knight to ramp 2 for 6 mana, which means I can play Corsair and Oko, and the Corsair is nice because of the body. It saves us from really anything. So we can play Oko. I can then even sack the Plateau for a Wasteland, but use it to cast my Corsair, and then if there's a land on top, I can put it into play, and if it's a Wasteland, I can use it. Punishing Fire, okay. I'm gonna hit the Retrofitted Foundry. I could put the Trop on top, but I wanted to play 2 spells this turn, and also try to get a land off the top to play after I shuffle with the Knight, because otherwise we only had access to 5 mana. Ah, of course, I played the Trop. Apologies, yeah. Yeah, I could have definitely done it the other way around and kept the Trop on top. Interesting. It's not Oracle Modile. Oh, there's Wasteland. Okay. So let's go put on top. Put on top. Play this for turn. Trigger. Happy to play Oof. I probably just want to create a food here. And then I don't mind Wasteland on Maze and attack with the Knight. Just start getting in some sort of damage. They're also not holding up crop rotation, so it's nice to be able to attack here. Hey Trix, welcome. Hope you're well. Yeah, the league has been going okay. I still like the brainstorms in the list. So they can sack one of these guys to search the library for an Eldrazi card, reveal it, put it into the hand. I'm not wastelanding the Glimmer Post because I want to keep the wasteland for something else. Something a little bit bigger. But I could get punished. If they have a soul land like an Ancient Tomb, then if they just like hardcast Primeval Titan, that's pretty rough. Another Glimmer Post, interesting. That's fine. Arrow Promise. Search your library for up to 2 lands, put them into play tapped, then shuffle your library, then if you control 3 or more deserts. Interesting, so they're ramping. What did they get? 2 Vesuvas. Okay, so at least with the triggers on the stack, I can Wasteland 1. Alright. Okay to see the Punishing Fire. Swords is interesting. Meddling Mage. Huh. Put on top, pay for these. I'm gonna play Mage. I'm just gonna name Ugin because we saw it in game 1. And then I think we just get rid of the Retrofitter, and then attack with everything but the Knight of Autumn. The question is, do I want to attack with the Knight? Maybe not. I feel like I still want to Wasteland here. And because I haven't played a land, if I find a Wasteland off the top or another land, I can also play that. Which is pretty interesting. Oh wow, there's no Wastelands left? Oh, okay. Well, now I definitely have to find something pretty good. I think it's just a fetch land. In case there's things on top that I don't want. Play this. Another land on top. Okay. Well, I guess I can fetch that away later on. This is fine, I can't do anything here. Draw a card, okay. So I really need to find Green Suns. Needle. I'm gonna fetch in response. I'm just gonna get Dried Arbor. Ramanap might not be GG because of the Pithing Needle. But we'll see if they name Knight or Wasteland. I think they name Wasteland if they pick up that we didn't get a Wasteland last time. Okay, they name Oko. Interesting, and a map, okay. Alright. Yeah, Oko is pretty good. Do I want to fetch here? I don't think I do. I don't really want to see the bird though, so... Brainstorm. Okay, that's pretty good. So it's going to be Brainstorm and Grove and Brainstorm with a Knight on top. Put on top. I could pay for the Knight and then play the Grove. So it's only 3. That's interesting. So what do I want here? I guess the first Brainstorm can dig 2 cards, and then I can get a free shuffle with the Knight and then Brainstorm again if I want to. Which is pretty good. Double Knight. Interesting. Put on top, put on top. Play this land. I didn't want to play the Grove first in case I hit another land, but to be fair, because Wasteland isn't in the mix anymore, it's probably just correct to actually play that to see the additional card. That's very correct. Hey Arkan, welcome. Hope you're well. Yeah, this is tough. Now I want to use the Knight for another Brainstorm. So I'm gonna sack the drop. I guess I probably shouldn't have played the land, because if I'm trying to find Ramanap, I want to play a Wasteland from the yard. So that's just incorrect. Brainstorm on top. Swords. Put on top. And I'll put the Knight on top. Yeah, there's also consideration to keep the Knight to play it, and not just hold up Swords to Plowshares. Which is still probably correct. Even a Punishing Fire would have been kind of nice to kind of clear the board and just make room. Alright. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana currently. They have 2 cards in hand, but they have From Beyond to search with and also Expedition Map. Karakas is fine. They have to have something here. Crop rotation. That's okay. Ayavugan or Glimmerpost to gain life. Okay. They got a 16. They have 0 cards in hand. They can... 9 mana. Ah, interesting. They can get Ulamog. That's pretty good. Oh, and they also have Karakas open? Yuck. I'm assuming I should have responded somewhere by swordsing the Eldrazi, so they couldn't sack it. That's just a massive misplay. Ay ay ay. That's terrible. That's terrible magic. I apologize. Draw the Knight. We know about the bird. Okay. Pay for a Knight. Put this on top. Oh, we don't have enough mana. I thought we could Brainstorm into Green Suns for Ramanap to Wasteland the Ulamog, but that doesn't work. need that Wasteland. I do see fresh cards with Storm. So I currently have 5 mana, which is enough for Brainstorm and then Green Suns for Ramanap. And then I can get back Wasteland, but then I'm 1 short because of the Ulamog. Can I just take a hit? The Pitting Needle is currently naming the Oko, which is annoying. Yeah, maybe we just set this up over a couple of turns. I could also Brainstorm here to have the bird as a chump blocker, and then make sure I have lethal on the swing back. So maybe that's worth it. So I don't need to deal with the Ulamog, and I do need to get the... I think this is fine. I don't think we need to hold up Plow. Ah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I just totally fizzed there. Yeah, that's yeah, no, I wasn't even thinking about the return. All I was thinking about was, oh, if they attack, then at least I want a chump blocker, because lethal is just setting back anyway. Yeah, that's a really stupid error, because it's just looking at the board state and just seeing what you can beat and what you can't beat. But yeah, I think there were so many little plays there that I could have done differently. Even dealing with the Eldrazi token before they had a chance to use it. But that's cool. I think in general it's a pretty nice matchup. Unfortunately, this version doesn't have too many answers to Pitting Needle outside of Knight of Autumn. There's no Abrupt Decays, there's no Force of Vigor, there's no Qasali Pride Mage, so once Needle hits the field, it's pretty rough, especially if it hits Oko first, because that's your only other out. Hulk's GT. This hand is okay, I'll keep this. It's a 2-lander, but it's got mana acceleration, which is nice. Forest. Shadow Spear, okay. This might be Maverick. It might be like a green-white Maverick deck with Shadow Spear in it. But interesting that that's the turn 1 play. We're just going to go for Savannah into Noble. There's probably some merit to Birds of Paradise because of Punishing Fire off the top is really nice. If we can go Punishing Fire, then also Wasteland. That Ulamog play is going to haunt me. Kessig Wolfrun, interesting. Okay. Green Suns. I'm just going to go Wasteland into Night. Interesting deck. No Haunt, only Learn. Yeah, that's fair enough. It's definitely a mistake I won't do twice. Interesting deck. I have access to 4 mana. I could try to hit a land off the Corsair, which would be awesome because then I can play the Sylvan Library as well. But I think here I'm happy just to go Sylvan Library and Noble Hierarch, and then hold up Knight. Once Sylvan Library's in play, it's so much better to play with the Corsair, because you can see what lands are coming. Rough. Yeah, this looks like an interesting deck. Just a pass. Okay, well I'm more than happy to actually just probably cycle here, just get a fetch land and another jewel. 2-0. Yeah, I'm not too sure what this is. Drop's fine. Nice. I'm just gonna pay for this, and I'll put this on top. Then we can go Corsair, play Tundra. Lost in the woods. I'm not too sure. I'm gonna play around crop rotation. I'm just gonna wasteland in their upkeep. But I'm gonna assume it's a creature deck. Especially seeing the Shadow Spear, it looks like they're trying to do something with trample. Liquid metal coating? This deck, I don't know what's happening. I mean, we also have the Collector Oof as well. Red Green Khan? Yeah, possibly. Put on top, put on top. Play the plat. I'm just gonna play the Oof. Attack for 8. I assume it is some sort of Khan deck. Perhaps like red-green. Eldrazi, but obviously a weird one. I feel like Teeg and Gaddock and Collector Oof kind of locks out any sort of unfair cards. It also just puts lethal on board outside. Oh my gosh. Is this what the 1-3 black bracket has come to? Alright. I'm not even going to use my library. That was an interesting match. I think I'm just going to bring in the parts. And maybe skimp on a Sylvan Library. And a Punishing Fire? Yeah, the Highlands really got me. The only reason I can think that you play a Rugged Highlands in that deck is for Field of the Dead. That's the only reason. Tega doesn't gain life. I like that your name is also Tega in memes. This is a pretty slow hand, but I think it's okay. Turn 2 Sylvan Library into turn 3 Knight's pretty nice. Username checks out. Forest again? Come on now. Punishing fire. Isochron Scepter? Alright. What are they imprinting? Destructive Revelry? Okay. I guess if they want to spend their turn destroying the Sylvan Library, I'm probably okay with that. I'm gonna get a Forest because I think Blood Moon beats me. If that is something to be worried about. And then I might just go for a Trop because of... I guess actually Tundra. Because it gives me white mana as well. Yeah, if the Sylvan Library is just Time Walk, I'm more than happy because then I can untap with Oko or Knight. Okay. I'm just gonna play Knight here. Here's 4 mana. Come on. Nothing? I don't even want to destroy the Kessig. Maybe I... Yeah, very weird deck. Just a pause. We've only seen artifacts. Right. All credit to them. All credit to them for innovating. But that Rugged Prairie has got me very... I think we're just going for Knights. Don't you dare attack. I think I'm just going for Knights here. Foothills, and then I'll get a Savannah, which then I can sack again. Oh, I can also get a... Yeah, because I have to get the white source. Play a Knight. It's a lot of power. And now I can sack this Savannah for a fetch land. Play Noble. Yeah, the life gain obviously pretty good against Burn. I mean, that's got a nice little upside. But yeah, nice 4-1 with Bones, really nice. Good on you. That's awesome. I would actually love to see what my opponent has built here. I do want to see more cards. That's rough. I feel like my opponent played... It's just one of those decks that... I don't know. I wish I saw it, because there's obviously some sort of payoff here, and we just didn't get to see it. My opponent just drew the wrong side of the deck. But we saw Shadow Spear each time, we saw Kessig Wolf Run. So it looks like a deck that wants to get Trample in there somewhere. But... interesting. Very interesting. So unfortunately it was a 2-3, which isn't great, but I do think there's some merit to the deck. The Brainstorm version that I had was a little bit different, and it was mainly a Bant deck. So a little bit low to the ground, to fairies and Okos, and then you also get Uro. The one reason that I do like the red splash in a Brainstorm version of Maverick is that you get more instant speed effects. So Brainstorm is a little bit better on your opponent's turn because you can draw into, you know, Pyroblast and Punishing Fire to use in their turn, then untap and of course cast your Screeches. Which, you know, it'd be interesting to see how this goes through a league, because I think that Bant's definitely a pretty strong version of Maverick right now. I think the Black Splash definitely has the pip for first place for Maverick right now because of Abrupt Decay, and even Plague Engineer is really good against some of these fair strategies. But I think that this kind of deck has some space in the metagame for it. It's just a case of putting in reps and seeing how it goes. I don't like the Gilded Goose. Goose is interesting because it's a 0/2, so it can block some things like a Goblin Lackey or an Unflipped Delver, but I don't like that with Maverick. It's very mana hungry, and sometimes you don't have the ability to just, you know, make a food and then untap and then use it. You have to always have like a Birds of Paradise effect where you always have the mana. You don't have the luxury of having the turns where you can just, you know, use it to create a food, then untap it, then create a mana, then untap it, then create a food. And so as good as Gilded Goose is for Oko and having a creature around straight away, I think in this build I would rather just have an extra bird. Yeah, Forcific is really nice. I think the only downside to the version that we just played is that the sideboard is very combo orientated. Goose is always really nice in long games as well, yeah, because it can be a little bit of a mana sink. It can buy you time in some matchups where, you know, if you're gaining 3 life a turn, which is the same as a Delver hit, it's definitely not nothing, and over several turns it can add up. Yeah, I think next league I'll try something out like this out where it's just 3 color. It doesn't have the advantage of being better in your opponent's turn because of the less the lower amount of instant speed effects, but I'm sure we could trial some shenanigans for this list. That is me. Huge thank you to you guys for coming in. I'm gonna quickly see who else is streaming Legacy and send you guys over there. If you want to find me on YouTube, you can find all my recordings and streams via my YouTube channel. You can also find me on Twitter. Of course, I spelled YouTube wrong. You played more Ooze? Yeah, I think more Ooze is definitely pretty good, because there's a few decks right now that are using the graveyard as a resource. Having a creature that also gets counters that makes your elked creatures bigger is nice as well, because of course if an Oko goes after an Ooze, the Ooze keeps its counters, which is cool. Cat, you're more than welcome. A huge thank you. Flo True is actually playing, who plays a lot of Eldrazi, a really good player. I'm pretty sure Flo just recently top 8'd a challenge, which is cool. I can't spell. Nice, there we go. A huge thank you once again. Yeah, hopefully back on Sunday morning with a better record, but I hope you guys had fun. I know I did. Thank you again. Enjoy your weeks ahead. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.